there's only one time that you get to be a first-year club. And it was really cool to kind of see where things are with what used to be Boise Pro Soccer, and that's where they are on the Twitters. But AC Boise, as they're building, we always look at the on-the-field stuff. Okay, who are your players? Who are your coaches? What's it going to look like? What's the building going to be? All those things. One of the things we don't look like, that we really don't look at enough, is the jersey. We always sit there, and as Atlanta United folks, you look at that 5-stripe kid. Then you look at the other kits, the concrete and cherry pie or strawberry or whatever, and the 404 and all the others. But that first kit, you got to build on that because that's your identity going forward. And for us, it was a real treat. AC Boise's kind of opened their doors to us a little bit. And we got to talk to the coach when it was announced. We're talking staff, talking all these things. But what about the idea of the jersey that's a part of the fabric of everything? So we catch up with their current chief marketing officer, Jennie Telleria, lead kit designer as they roll things out. And so we kind of went a little kit nerdy today with this particular interview, the whole build about it and the feedback and all that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, you're talking to artists who are trying to create something that is going to have a lasting legacy. And so this was where the conversation starts with Jennie Telleria, the chief marketing officer and lead kit designer at AC Boise. She also has her own agency there in Boise itself. But what is it like to create something from scratch that is going to be the identity of a club from day one? Here's our conversation with Jennie Telleria and AC Boise about how they're doing just that. Time to catch up with someone who's got a far better background than I think I ever could have. Jennie Telleria. And how many different sides of the business card, Jennie, do we currently operate when it comes to everything that's going on right now? Let me see if I've got this. So chief marketing officer right now for AC Boise, lead kit designer, and we're going to talk about that for the really cool AC Boise kit for first year. And obviously, the grand exalted poobah, person in charge, owner extraordinaire at Against, the creative consultancy for Rebel Brands based in Boise, Idaho. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. I like your take on it. That's a much grander title than I actually have. But yeah, I just, I wake up every morning and I log on and answer a bunch of emails. So, and I don't necessarily know what persona I have when I'm answering those emails all the time, but we get it done somehow.
Right there with you. The reason that we brought you on is because there are a lot of different aspects of creation, and when it comes to a franchise coming online, a lot of folks will sit there and they'll go, okay, yeah, it's players, it's a stadium, it's all the on the field stuff, but I don't think a lot of folks quite understand all of the off the field elements that go into it, and something that is a part of the presentation of a brand and a franchise and all of that goes into this. And that's why I wanted to bring you in to discuss the build of the jersey and the kit and all of these things. How did they knock on your door to sit there and go, Jennie, we want you to be a part of this? How did this happen, first and foremost?
Well, first of all, we actually started this process 10 years ago. I've been in contact with who is currently the CEO now, when this was just a dream of his. And he lives in Boise. I live in Boise, and that's how we were connected. And I think I'd worked with him on another project that was completely unrelated to the what is now currently Athletic Club Boise. At the time, it didn't have a name. And in fact, I was searching through some old files the other day and found some of the original sketches that we had from 2015. And I can tell you that what we ended up with looks absolutely nothing like those original sketches. But the whole process of building a team can take a very, very long time. And at one point it just starts off as a dream, and then here we are today, and we are going to be, kickoff is happening here shortly. And terrifyingly, because you should see my list of things that I still have to do and check off.
Oh, okay. So how deep is that list? Is it on a hidden 6 foot by 8 foot long dry erase board with a bunch of different colors and arrows, or where is this to-do list getting ready for the season?
It lives in lots of different places, and a lot of sticky notes all over, and of course digitally. And it's not just me. I have a full team of incredibly talented, wonderful human beings who help get all of this done. And there's no way any of this would certainly happen without them. They keep me in check and make sure that I'm where I need to be as well, and getting the things done that I need to get done. Yeah, it's lots of lists.
How many iterations are we talking about here from original design? Okay, AC Boise's coming online, trumpets and fanfare and everything. They knock on your door. All right, we're serious. Let's get this done. How many different iterations of this idea did we come up with before you settled on what you settled on?
Well, hundreds, genuinely hundreds of designs. And again, it wasn't just me from the very beginning. I had a whole team of designers who were working on the identity. And we started with, when you launch a team, it's not called it doesn't have a name yet. So we launched with Boise Pro Soccer, which is kind of the vernacular that USL launches with when they announce a new team. It's City Pro Soccer. So before it was Athletic Club Boise, it was Boise Pro Soccer. And Boise, I don't know how much you know about Boise, or if you've ever been to Boise. It's a very tight-knit community. People love Boise. And so we knew from the very beginning that we wanted to make sure we involved our community. So we did a lot of listening sessions where we showed up with big boards that had all of these photos of things that were relevant and important to Boise. And we gave everyone these little dots and said, okay, put your sticker dot on the images or the things that you felt like were the best representation of Boise. And so the community really helped us narrow that big list of possibilities of what's going to be involved and what's going to go into this crest. And so from there, we have this list of things, items or emblems or symbols. And from there, we set out to sketch lots of different iterations and ways those pieces and parts can come together. And I think we went through, 6 rounds of design. And within each of those 6 rounds, you just start narrowing. We started with, I think, from a designer perspective, you're sketching hundreds, and those hundreds never get seen like the light of day, because most of them are crap, right? And you narrow it down to a few that you think, okay, this is presentable to the client. So we present it to the team and the CEO, and they decide which ones they like. And often that's a Franken design, or what we called Franken design as designers, which is, I like this piece of this mark and I like this piece of this crest, and can we push those together? And then from there, we ultimately end up with what you see today and what you just shared on the screen. But it did not look like that initially. It went through some pretty ugly stages first.
How large a team are we talking about here when it comes to the collaborative process on your end, and sitting in one of those rooms that I imagine that is the big glass window and the hermetically sealed room with the equally glass table and the long chairs? How many folks were on your team that were collaborating in this whole process?
There were 3 specific designers that were actually, pen to paper, who were sketching and coming up with concepts. But the team surrounding us there's a team of 7 on the marketing team that are doing everything, bringing everything to life. And then, of course, from the soccer side and operations side, there's a much larger team. But it's a startup, so we're small and scrappy. And from the very beginning, it's just a few people who are doing everything. And then you slowly start to bring more people on and divide and conquer. And but it's behind the scenes, it's a really small group of people who make these things happen and pull it off. And but I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes, but there's we don't sleep much.
Well, and I mean, there are always the stories that are attached to the logos and the color schemes and things like that. When it came to the write-up and the analysis of, okay, this isn't just this color palette, it has this meaning that's attached to it. How much research and depth of field went into describing, okay, it's not just a basic color, there's a story that's attached to it. It's not just a logo, there's meaning behind it that has to do with actual things that are indigenous to the Boise area. How much thought goes into all of that process?
I love that you brought that up because not a lot of people understand that. They just see the finished piece and, people love it or they hate it. And you're going to have the whole spectrum. And the reality is there is a lot of thought and strategy and symbolism and meaning that goes into the work that is done. Good designers, in fact, every single decision is built on meaning and it's intentional. And is everyone who sees the mark going to recognize that? No. But as a designer, we need to have something to build off of and to start with. And so, yeah, we're again, we polled the community and they identified the things like farming. Boise has a rich history of agriculture. And so we knew that we wanted to somehow incorporate that into it. And sometimes it shows up in very realistic ways. Obviously, our Falcon bolt, it's still abstract, but it's recognizable, right? Well, the lines in our crest, those are symbolic of agriculture lines. It's more abstract, but it still has that reference point and that symbolism behind it.
And you mentioned the agriculture fields, as we have the logo up here once again. The agriculture fields, low left in the southwest corner. You have valleys and mountain peaks on the north and the south. The star garnet, you have they mentioned the peregrine falcon that's attached to it. And one of the things that I didn't know, and this is part of that education process, is the Basque influence. I didn't know that going into this process.
Yeah, Boise has the largest population of Basque people outside of the Basque country. And that is something that all Boiseans are proud of, whether or not you have a Basque background or not. My husband's Basque. Telleria is a Basque name. So I get the pleasure of walking down. We have an area in Boise called the Basque Block that has a Basque museum, a lot of Basque restaurants, and, all of the founders are the original Basque people who came to Boise. Their name is engraved in the sidewalk, and so Telleria is one of those names, which is kind of fun.
So when you get into these ideas, then you've got to find the right kit manufacturer that will understand where you're coming from, and they get you. How long was that search out process of sitting there? It's like, well, yeah, we think that we'll go with so-and-so, or they'll go so-and-so. It ends up being Hummel, but how many conversations are you having about folks? No, I don't think they get us. Yeah, they get us, and we'll go here. What's that conversation like?
I can only, yeah, and I can only speak to that on the surface. Honestly, that was the CEO's job. He was part of those conversations. And we did look at quite a number of kit providers and ultimately went with Hummel. And Hummel's been great. And I don't know how much your audience or about the kit design process, but different providers or different kit manufacturers, they have, some of them have very standard templates and certain things that you can look at from designing. One of the things that makes Hummel so unique is you can customize everything from the shape of the collar to the cuts on the sleeves to the material on the cuffs. Quite literally every element and aspect of it is customizable, which is both wonderful and can be intimidating as a designer. When everything's a possibility, it's like, oh my, where do I start?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you end up with the finished product, and then you end up with final, and it's about ready to go out into the community. I imagine it's exhilarating, nerve-wracking. You want to hide in a corner, but you want to be out in front to see what everybody's thinking. I imagine if there's curtains, you're probably hiding behind them one moment, and then you're pulling at your face, like the face bit where you sit there and it's only your face that's out, and you kind of go back like this. When it turns into something that's final, and you're getting ready for that presentation, is it as nerve-wracking as I anticipate, because now you don't get that second chance to make the first impression and it's out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And sports fans are fanatics, right? Yeah, you're going to have people who love it and you're going to have people who absolutely hate it. And obviously it was important for us to make sure that we were involving the community and making sure that we were representing the brand in a way that they were going to love. And I think I have one of the kits here. One of the important things.
There you go.
I was going to put it on, but then I'm like, but then I won't be able to, use it as a prop. So But so because it's our inaugural season, it was important to us that all of our kits are going to be grounded in the narrative of our crest.
Right.
And so this particular kit, and I don't know if you can see, my lighting's not super
Yeah,
great in
you're
here.
good. You got it.
But this our home kit is our peregrine falcon kit. So everything was inspired by the peregrine falcon. So there's a pattern that's heat sublimated, or heat pressed rather,
Oh, wow.
on the front, and you can't really see it. It's only subtle and comes out in different light. And that is representative of the plumage of the peregrine falcon. And then, we're making decisions on everything. Like the direction that the pattern is going in is the direction that the falcon is from our crest.
Yeah.
Nerdy things like that nobody cares about. But as a designer, those are the things that we nerd out about. And, we're picking, what's the material that this piece is in. Like this is a 3D printed layer ink, all the way, to our crest, which is a silicone with tatami background. Yeah. So, you're picking out all of those things and hoping it comes together, because you don't really see it in its final form until it shows up in the box on your in your office.
Yeah, well, and all right, so then walk me through that day when that box shows up and all of the stuff that you've pieced together, you and the team have pieced together. The box shows up for the first time. You obviously, there's the box cutter, but you don't want to take the box cutter and go too deep because you don't know how far they stacked it. You don't want to do any damage. So it's like box cutter comes out, you make that slice, you open it up. What was the reaction when you opened the box for the first time on the final?
I mean, it makes you feel like Christmas when you're a little kid. It was really exciting. And the first thing you do is you pull it out and you're holding it up and looking at it from a distance, and then you're diving in and like, how does that look? And how's the fabric here? And you go over it with a fine tooth comb, and it was pretty exciting to see it come to life, and then also to see other people's reactions. I think that was the most exciting part. That the community really responded well, and it was really well received, which, thank goodness.
Well, and I mean, the initial print run was 5,000? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard a vicious rumor that it's difficult to keep them in stores. This thing it's moving, and there's a lot of town pride and there's a lot of team pride that's attached to it, and the fact that it is being received as well as it is obviously speaks to all of that development that goes back 10 years to where you are now. It does seem like it is one of those Christmas moments, but I don't know how many folks quite understood going in that this is as integral as the on the field product, and we're catching up with the coaches and everything. We're catching up with front office folks. Mm-hmm. What's it like to be a part of that build and have the team sit there and go, man, this really is, we've locked this in. This is here. Everybody's digging it, and we're that much closer to really being a part and showing all of this off to the soccer community.
I mean, being a part of this team has been absolutely incredible, and it is a very tight-knit group of people who are making all of this happen, both on the Athletic Club Boise side and then on the marketing against side of things. We're one team. We really consider ourselves one team, and there's emails flying and text messages that are coming in at all hours of the night, and sharing things that we're seeing online and saying, "Oh, we should do this. This is really cool." But it is really exciting. There's a lot of energy, and if anybody's ever been a part of a startup, it's that energy. It's a startup company. It's a startup team, and yeah, you just roll up your sleeves, you dive in. Sometimes you're taping up signs. You're doing everything when you're small and starting.
How many startups have you been a part of? Have you always thought of yourself as a builder of things?
Yeah, my background's in design, and as a designer, that is, you're building things. You're starting from nothing and figuring out how are you putting these disparate pieces together to create meaning and putting that out into the world. So, my company, Against, is a startup, or I guess it's 6 years old, but it was a startup at one point, and I've worked with lots of different brands and startups, not necessarily on the startup team, but as their marketing partner. And startups are a unique beast.
I was going to ask, is there like one misconception that folks may just sit there that thinks that it just magically happens? Is that probably like the biggest misconception of a startup, that, oh, it just magically appears and everything's fine? What's the biggest misconception in a startup, you think?
That's a good question. Probably that there's not a lot of thought that how does this happen? People see the end result, right? They see the end piece, but they don't see all the consternation and the debates and the tears that happen behind the scenes. And it's everything. There's a decision behind everything, and everything's designed. I mean, quite literally, everything that we're doing is designed from the ground up.
When you're back home in Boise, and now that the reveal has happened, and the season ticket holders and all the heavy stakeholders, they had the big presentation. They're wearing the scarves. They come by, they get their jersey. What's it like for you now to go walking around in Boise, and you're seeing people wearing those jerseys out in the just casual? It's like, hey, I'm going to a sports bar. I might be on my way to the blue turf to go check something out, and they're wearing that jersey. And do you kind of sit there and kind of tilt your head sideways and give it a bit of a sly look, or do you sit there and are you going, man, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8? What's it like for you and the team now to go walking around in town and seeing folks wearing these things leading into this first season?
There's definitely a sense of pride, and it's working. They like it. The community's in on this. It's as someone who's creating something from nothing, it's always cool when you see it live out there in the world. I remember the first time I designed a magazine ad that ran an outside magazine. I was like so excited as a young designer. I'm like, that's so cool.
I mean, when you have moments like this, and you're a part of this build that is a part of this foundation that is going to be a part of this legacy. I mean, there are a lot of these building blocks that you and your team have been a part of now to have something like this happen. How many folks sit there and they walk up to you and it's like, okay, so what are you going to do for an encore? Is there any patience in this at all? Or are they just it's like, come on, it's like, all right, you got the first one, let's get the next, let's get the next one going? Or are folks just kind of sitting there and going, all right, let's get this. Let's be grounded about this whole thing. We've got to launch the team. They've got to start playing. Or are they looking to continue to churn on the hamster wheel? How many folks sit there and tap you on the shoulder and go, this is great. What are you going to do now?
Oh yeah, everybody wants what's next, right? I mean, same. We're the same. We're like, all right, moving on. I mean, we don't have time to sometimes bask in the excitement of it. We're like, all right, that's done. Moving on to all the other things that need to get done. And our home kit's done, and we've been in the background while this was in production. We were behind the scenes working on the away kit and the keeper kits and the home or the third kit and all of those things. So the excitement is still happening. We see packages that are showing up at our office with proofs of, let's see, what are we working? What was the proof we just got? We just got our very first proof of a keeper kit.
Okay.
And I actually haven't even seen it. I've been in Vegas. My team opened it up, and so I had them send me videos and photos, so we could see what it was looking like, because we're down to the wire now where we've got to start turning approvals around so that we can make sure that our team has something to wear when they roll up for their first game.
And I mean, I think that's the other part of this that folks may not necessarily compute, is that you've got to be ready for that first home game. Okay, cool. You got to be ready for that first away game, whenever that is. And that means that the players have to wear it. They've got to be comfortable with it. They've got to be ready to go. All these stages, as we were talking about earlier, it's not magic. It's like it is magic to create it, but it's not magic to get it done. So it's created and in a physical sense. And so it's real world deadlines, and you're going up against it here. And I give you a lot of credit, you and the team, a lot of credit for all of the sleepless nights that you're going through to sit there and it's like, yeah, okay, away kit needs to be like this. Home kit's here. How far off of the base do we go for the third? Where do we do are the players, are the keepers? Let me ask you this: for the keeper kit, are there any goalkeepers around that are sitting there and saying, yeah, let's go this color, this color, this color? What's the feedback from the team?
Well, when we're designing it, we don't have a team, right? Like team recruitment is happening at the same time that we're building and designing these things. So we're relying on the actual staff or those team members who obviously have been players and have a lot of background in the coach, and those individuals are weighing in and saying, yeah, keepers won't like that. But we didn't have keepers when we were designing this.
It's like can we go over to Boise State and kind of swear them to secrecy and have the keeper? So when I guess what's the timelines now? Obviously, you sell out at Christmas, and then that means that Hummel's got to reproduce everything. What are your self-imposed deadlines to have things ready for the rest of us to sit there and go, all right, so when are you holding up the next jersey for the next interview? What are your self-imposed deadlines now?
Well, there's a spreadsheet that has a lot of dates on it that are very quickly arriving. But even before we get to the point of where we've got the kits and the players are wearing them, or we're selling the away kits, we've got media day, and so that's a day where the team, where they're coming together, they're putting on all of the various kits, and we're taking photos and videos and getting their signatures on things. That happens well before the game even happens, and that's happening, a month before kickoff. And so there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen before anybody even rolls out onto the field with wearing that kit.
Have you had a chance to catch your breath at all?
I don't do well when I don't have anything to do. So I like that pace. I like the energy. I like the go. If I sit down and there's nothing to work on, I'm like, I create chaos, right? So it's just better if there is chaos. Otherwise, I'll just create it.
We cannot thank you enough for pulling back the curtain on something like this, to kind of walk everybody through this branding and marketing 101. This actually is probably for those of us on this side, it's probably branding and marketing 101. On your side, it is probably the PhD level course in getting something done. So AC Boise can look the look and walk the walk and talk the talk. Jennie, I cannot thank you enough for pulling back the curtain a little bit, breaking everything down, and kind of letting everybody know that there's a story behind the story that we see and the story that we get to learn about as we go. And we can't wait to see how things continue to develop there at AC Boise, and can't wait to see all of this stuff sell out and be all over the place. And you become incredibly, incredibly rich and famous. And they sit there and it's like, okay, so here's next. So that kind of stuff. Can't thank you enough for dropping by for the education. We really appreciate it, especially with you being on the road and being away from the office and trying to get things done like 19 different ways. Can't thank you enough for doing this. We really appreciate it here on the morning show.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and thanks for being interested and curious, and I'll be back anytime.